and then I'm going to exit.
Oh yeah, you can hang out here.
Know what the shots are that you want. Hand up. Tara, hand up.
Do you want me to introduce you with a bio before we go live? Or sorry, when we start going live?
You can, sure. Mentioned that I started off in dance. I got 5 years of tap. No, 2 years of jazz. I actually know a sound guy that started out as a dancer.
I should have cleaned your shield. Can't see when I saw it.
Tara.
I can't see anything.
Sorry, what? No, nobody said anything.
Does that get blown out too much?
All right. Well, it's different. I can see barely. I would leave that back on. Yeah, because I can see more of the stage. Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our training, Putting It Into Practice, Stage Plots, Tech Riders, and Cabling with MTAV. For those of you who missed our last training with MTAV, MTAV, or Multi-Tech Audio-Visual, is family-owned by Vons and Karen Zinn. AV made simple. Multi-Tech Audio-Visual was born with one primary goal in mind, to make a difference. They're often overheard quoting this old proverb, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and they try to live by this themselves. With Vons' passion being sound and Karen's desire to be more involved in their community, they decided to expand their AV services to their hometown and local communities and operate as a full-service AV company. They are committed to providing professional state-of-the-art audio, visual, and lighting equipment rentals and superior on-site service to ensure your live audience will be remembering your event for all the right reasons. And we at OMCI are certainly fortunate to have MTAV as a proud and active sponsor. And I'll throw it over to Vons and Karen over at MTAV.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vons.
Karen?
This is my trusty sidekick, Karen. We're going to go through something that's super, super important for you guys to know. Riders, specifically input lists and stage plots. There's other parts of a rider. Rider is covers a lot of stuff to hospitality and who's picking you up at the airport and what kind of water you like. And the latest one I saw actually online just last night, as part of a rider, somebody wanted like these little magic kits. I don't know why they want that, but they wanted it. Exactly. No, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they need to fix up, do card tricks or whatever. But anyway, what you're looking at back here is, I don't know, actually, before we start, I want this to be interactive. I don't want to do a webinar because that's super lame. So the more questions I get, the better. So this is Kelsey Main's stage plot. And if you don't have one of these, you need to, I'll move this out of the way so you can pick it up. If you don't have one of these, you need to make one. There is, we can make it available for you guys. There is a website where you can do this, and it allows you to just drop these little mic stands and guitar amps and bass amps and drum sets and stuff like that. Just drop it all in there. Why is it important? Because as technicians, this really helps us. So if we get this ahead of time, then this is the blueprint for your band. We can then get a lot of the stuff ready for you. Like, I mean, just knowing that there's a guitar amp over here and there's a bass amp over here is a time-saving thing. If you're the only band that night, for instance, if as a band you were hired to do an event, we are the sound and lighting company that's doing the event, you send us this, we can do a preemptive strike where we can set all this stuff, set all the microphones and stuff like that for you way ahead of time, so when you do arrive, the setup and sound check goes quicker, and you can have more time to maybe even do a longer sound check if you want to go through some songs or stuff like that, instead of still plugging stuff in as the audience is walking into the room. Really, really bad idea. So this is super helpful. Oh yeah, the next part is the input list. I'm going to split this around here. Yeah, we've kind of had a bit of a jump on the setup. You can see that some stuff is already plugged in. I've kind of left the drums. We're going to do that, and that'll be something we can go through in its entirety because nothing's mic'd yet. But the way they've got their stuff set up, this doesn't really follow the usual industry sort of way. Usually, you would start with the drums, like basically start with the percussion instruments, bass, guitars, keys, horns, and the last thing on the list would be vocals. So if you're walking into a festival situation, it's probably a better idea to do that. But the reason why they've done it this way is because they have their own monitor system. If you can come over here. So they're all going to be on in-ear monitors, and they're doing what's called a split. So what that means is it's basically a Y split. So you plug a microphone into this splitter, which is right there, and that splitter then sends that signal not only to their rig here, so they can then do their own monitor mix, but it also sends a secondary send to the front of house. So it's separate, and it's a really, really good way to do it, and that's usually the way you're going to find in a professional sort of festival situation. You're going to have a separate monitor guy and a separate FOH guy, front of house. Remember, we talked about that last time. So that way, anything I do on the front of house end doesn't affect what's happening on the stage end, and that's really important. And it's great to have it that way because then you have somebody that is monitoring your monitor mixes. So that's really, really important. You have a representative on stage for you guys instead of somebody that can be up to 100 feet away from you, and then you're trying to do hand signals like, turn my mic up or turn this down or whatever. You have a guy that's going to be either on stage left or stage right, watching you guys and monitoring everybody's monitor mix and adjusting it accordingly. And you can even actually go up to the guy and say, hey, can you turn me up in the whatever, either if it's a monitor wedge or in my ears or whatever. So what we're going to do is kind of go through what would happen at a sound check. So the band is, for the most part set up. This is the way I kind of like to do things. I don't like the band in here noodling around, smashing things around. Just best to like set up guys and just clear out of the way. Because we end up falling over each other and it becomes kind of a hassle. So where we're going to start is the drums. So like I said, that would usually be channel 1, but on this it's channel 11. So what we've done over here, if you look at these things here, that's called a sub-snake. So what that allows us to do is, instead of running single lines to wherever that has to go, this box here allows you to do multiple inputs and actually some outputs as well if you need to return stuff for monitors and whatnot. So if we have that, then we don't, like I said, it keeps everything a lot cleaner. You don't have to run, this has 12 mic cables inside of it. So instead of running 12 mic cables all in all different directions, it's one core, multi-core cable that then can go to wherever it needs to be and be plugged in quickly. If someone can spin around here, I'll just show you where our split is. So that's their rig, and our rig is, here, go over here. Where's the split here? Oh, it's right here. Okay. There. So that's That's our snake there. So you can see that we have all the inputs and everything coming to us. That's going to the control room, but that would go to, like I said, the front of house position, which would be out in front of the stage. So let's start micing the drums. There are a ton of different microphones to choose from. I'm a big fan of Shure and Sennheiser. They're kind of like the biggest name brands in microphones worldwide. There's a lot of industry standard microphone model numbers and stuff like that for different applications. You'll find if you like this one, for instance, I can't remember the actual model number. It is the Sennheiser E904. This is if you look, just about any drum kit you see mic'd up at a concert, you'll probably see this microphone, or the one that's below this, which is the 604. But this is, like I said, that's an industry standard. That would be, we use this on all the toms. So he only has two, so we only need two of those. The one I would use on the kick drum is this right here, and that is a Shure Beta 52, another industry standard microphone. You'll see that a lot. But like I said, there's a lot, there's so many to choose from, but you'll see this more often than not. I've got some other ones here. So this is a mic I'm kind of trying out. It's made by a company called Audix, and it is the i5. A lot of people are liking this mic. It's certainly they're kind of a newer company on the rise compared to Shure. Shure's been around since forever, like I think the 50s or something like that. The SM58 was one of the microphones we talked about that's been around forever and will be, because it's awesome. What else? So that is something I would put on the snare drum. It's kind of made for that. Then we've got this over here, and I'll grab it and pull it out. This is this is another mic from Audix. It's the ADX51. This is a condenser microphone. So like we talked about, this is for stuff like cymbals, stringed instruments. This would be good for either if you got to mic a guitar or orchestral stuff. This is the mic you want to use. But in this case, we're going to use this on the hi-hat. And then we have, where do those other microphones go? Oh, they're right here. This is another very, very common mic. This is the Shure, what's it called again? I can't remember all the model numbers. Remove my space helmet. It's an SM, forgot the model number, sorry guys. I can't remember. I think it's a 91. No, sorry, it's a KSM 137, that's it. And that's also, this is kind of a newer on the market, but it's becoming an industry standard as well. And once again, it's a condenser microphone. It needs 48 volt phantom power, just like this Audix over here, right? This is going to be for our overhead microphones, this one and this one, because we need, well, not so much stereo, but you want to be able to cover all the cymbals that are here. What else? We also have...
Ron, we actually have a question. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
We have a question about the rider and stage plot. How far in advance do you want the rider or stage plot?
How they've broken it up here is that's kind of all the detail we need. If you were traveling with, say you're traveling with your own sound engineer, sometimes they would bring their own, as you can see here, you know, there's some own mic. They brought some of their own mics, right, for vocals. But they've left a lot of it to like the discretion of, you know, production discretion. If you were traveling with a sound engineer that wasn't traveling with a mic package, what you might have a separate column here that would give you some, so basically, for instance, if it was the snare, the kick drum, then he would give you 2 or 3 choices of, you know, kick drum microphones that might be preferable if you have them. Another thing a rider covers is things that they don't want to see. It's like, don't bring me any whatever that might be, like a mic from China or something like that, or a lower end mic, a PV mic or something like that, like stuff that's considered sort of not professional level or no name. They don't want to see any of that. They'll be like specifically, it's like Shure, a Sennheiser, Audix. They'll have a mention of what manufacturers will be okay. They usually give their, what they want first. So if they want Shure SM57, for instance, on the electric guitar, they'll say that would be my first choice, and they'll have, these are my secondary choices if you don't have that. But you have to remember, I mean, that's really, really important to know, is that specifically for production companies, that this thing is not, we're not doing it just for fun. This is a contract. And it's very important that you fulfill this contract, because the they have expectations of what they need to have technically to do the show that they do. And if you don't provide proper stuff, then they can't do their show. So, like I said, yeah.
As far as
We can't hear you.
oh yes, for time frame, we
yeah.
asked for the riders early so that we could put in a quote.
Okay, yeah, so we would, yeah, so sometimes on these things, the production or the sound guy or the lighting guy or whatever will ask for certain levels of consoles that we might not have. So we would have to say, okay, if we have to bring that in, then that's going to be a cross-rented item, and it's going to cost whoever's putting on the show, set amount of dollars. But it's good to know all this information ahead of time, because if you are a sound guy and you show up to a gig and somebody has brought you something that, first of all, you're not familiar with, so that's one strike, or something that you're not familiar with and it really sucks, and you know it sucks, it's going to start your day off wrong, and you won't be able to do the job that your client, which is the band, has asked you to do. So it's really, really important that we follow these things, to the letter. And if you can't, the best thing to do, what actually happens too on these things, there'll be a name or a number that you can call. It's like, if you have any questions, call this guy or call this girl. That's important, because a lot of times, maybe you'll have something that will be suitable, still at the level that they're asking for, but it might not be listed there. But you just can't sort of willy-nilly just add whatever you want or change this in any way without asking permission. It's really, really important that you stick to this. Yeah, so that's about it. That's all I would...
Always have a current one.
Oh, yeah, and you want to keep it current. Like even if it's like to the day. Like if you're good, like for instance, okay, so the bass player, or sorry, the acoustic guitar player is sick. Well, we want to know that, because I don't want to set up his microphone, I don't want to set up his DI, and I don't want to set all this other stuff up for him if he's not going to be there. You're wasting valuable production time, and that's a real drag. And like I said, that's another thing that kind of sets the day off on a bad foot, because okay, now you've already shown me that you're wasting my time. But because this is something that you have my connection, I've already connected with you, but you're not following up with me and saying, oh, by the way, like this has happened a lot. Like I've arrived and have something that is from 2 years ago. It's like, oh my, that guy is not even here anymore. Or at the worst case scenario, this is like the really terrible is there's somebody on here and they're not even alive anymore. Okay, so and then you have to have that incredibly awkward conversations like, oh, it says so and so is on whatever playing whatever guitar, and like, oh, geez, that's a really old rider. He's not even alive anymore. I'm like, oh, that happened to me recently about 2 years ago, where I phoned in to ask some questions about the input list, and that was, so if someone's going to pass away, you probably should let them know. Anyway. Yeah.
Someone also
Keep
wants
it
to know
current.
if are the
Go ahead.
rider and stage plot two different things? Sorry again.
So can you repeat that?
Are the rider and stage plot two different things?
The rider is all-encompassing. It's the contract that the artist has with whomever is paying them. right? So if you decided to hire Kelsey's band, Kelsey and her band, then you would get their rider, and that's a contract. And it's specific to, you know, the music industry. They call it a rider, but that, like I said, it would have more than just this part on it, the technical part. It has to do with, you know, what's suitable for a hotel, what kind of food they want, what kind of drinks they want, like what's the expectation. So when they, after sound check, they want to have whatever, a hot meal, and all these things are set out in the in the rider. Or yeah, if they need backline, like in this case, you know, we provided the drum kit. So that's all stuff that would be on there. And I mean, if specific to a drum kit, it'd be like, you know, what would be suitable, like what manufacturers are okay. Sometimes the drummer might have a deal with a certain company, whether it be Yamaha or DW or whatever the case may be, and you'd have to provide a drum set from that manufacturer because they are on contract with them and can't play anything else. They're not allowed. So that's something that would be on a rider as well. What else? Yeah, well, I think we're safe to go through.
So can you clarify if should they ask early if there is a monitor tech on site, or what input list should they supply?
Well,
Why
exactly.
is that specific? You talked about certain order. Why is that specific?
Well, like I said, like the order this is in, it's just it's not a have to do really, but it's just nice to have because it just kind of follows. That's the way we do it. In mixing, like ever since I've been mixing music, it's drums first, then bass, then guitar, and stuff like that in that order. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, I mean, if I wanted to, because digital consoles, I can bring it all in and I can flip it around to whatever order I like. It doesn't matter. But so what was the
How
other?
do they find out what the standard for most
Well,
favorable audio guys would like?
Yes. So if you want to, like I said, if you want to follow something that's favorable, definitely have drums. But in this case, these guys don't have enough channels to do drums in full. So that's why they have stuff like this. I'm actually sending a drum mix back to their system here from my console. So that's slightly different than the usual. But for the most part, I mean, even if you, like the simplest, never mind all this stuff and never mind the microphones and anything like that, even if you just have that, that's a big deal. Like, I mean, just knowing like how many drums there are, like what size kit you have. Like, I mean, here's stuff like here, this is like a little drum machine. It's nice to know that's there. Don't like to run around because if you have to repatch stuff and move stuff around, it becomes a bit of a pain. So you want to, like I said, make it as clear and concise. Have your choices over here of what DIs, what microphones you prefer. But like I said, that's not really necessary. But yeah, like I said, this is great information for us to have. We don't like to do things twice, and a lot of times when you're in a festival, you don't have time to do things twice. It's like that's why you want to do it right away. Do it one time, do it quick, and get a half decent sound check in. Because when you waste time and you're not providing providing the incorrect information, then that slows the production down. That slows the getting you guys up and running and actually doing a sound check. Sometimes if you've not provided the right information, you have time for a line check, which is basically, is the mic working or is the input working? And then you go. And then you kind of figure it out as the show's happening. So you don't actually get a sound check. And that's a terrible way to start. So not being able to hear yourself or whatever. So don't put yourself in that position. Do what Kelsey's done here. Lay it all out. Get your stage plot. We can get that website. I forgot what it was. Where you can make, yeah, we'll put it in the comments. So you guys can take it from there. I forgot. It's actually a backline company that made this little interface, and then you can, like I said, you can drag and drop things in there. And here's another thing. We did an event with Julie Black, which is an R&B artist. Now she's a pro. she has, you know, anywhere from like a 10-piece band down to like a 3 or 4-piece band. And she has provided stage plots and riders for every single variation of her band, and that's super, super important and very useful. So we did this gig, we didn't know which version, and I got a hold of the sound guy, and he said, oh yeah, we're going to be going with whatever, this 4-piece or this 5-piece. So you can refer to this stage plot and this input list as what our needs are. And that's exactly what it was. So we were completely set up, ready for them to go. I mean, a lot of times these artists are, they're flying in and doing the gig and they're out. So the more information you can get from them and be ready for them, it just makes the process better, faster.
Can you speak towards cable management on stage when you have a stage plot and when you don't? It'd be a big mess.
Yeah, that's another thing. So if you, like for instance, I've seen these things on napkins and other things like that, or like when you don't tell us which side everybody's on, all you have is an input list that doesn't tell us that the bass player is over here, or your guitar player is over here. So you can't get ready, and then at the last minute you're running, or they change sides for whatever reason. Then now you've got to move a bunch of stuff over here and then move a bunch of stuff back over there, and that's a time waster as well. And then you start getting this cross patching of cables, and it becomes a big gigantic mess. And then it becomes dangerous because people can trip over it and stuff like that. And it also becomes harder to troubleshoot because you can't kind of lay it out all the way you like it. So I think we're going to start, we're going to maybe mic up the drum kit. So that's another great thing about the sub snake. So now I don't have to run a single cable. I can just use a shorter cable and be right here. So with that,
Can I remove your copy so you don't see it?
no, you may not. So we're going to start with the kick drum. So as you can see here, I've pre-labeled the sub snake. That way it makes it easier for people to, if you have an assistant that's going to be helping you, you don't have to be able, they have the information they need to help you out. So as you can see, kick, overhead, left and right, snare, hi-hat, tom 1, 2, 3. As you can see, there's already a discrepancy, right? Right here. The rider tells us there's 3 toms, and there's not 3 toms. There's 2. So that's something that needs to be dealt with. And you need to, that needs to be changed so you don't have to waste channels, because a lot of times you're laying this stuff out and you've got all the microphones out and now you're not using any. You're not using some. I've been on things where they don't have, or it's more. That's even worse. If it's less, that's okay, because all you have to do is take away. If it's more, now it's like, okay, now I've got to bring extra mics in, and now instead of having your channels all laid out in a proper way, where you've got kick, snare, hi-hats, all your toms and stuff like that, your overheads, and now you only have space on the end of the console farther away for the extra 2 high toms or the bongos or whatever has been added at the last minute. You got to put it farther away from where the drums are, and that's kind of a pain. So because you like to kind of keep everything that's so like I said, we do drums, bass, guitars are all together, vocals are all together. It just makes sense, and it's easier to find things instead of being all over the map. So with that, we're going to mic the kick drum. This is another thing that's super important, and a lot of guys, there'll be people that'll fight me on that, but having a port like that in your kick drum is really, really important. There's a different sound one gets when you can get in there. You get this kind of low end that comes out of this port, but also you've got a direct connection, or you can get close to the beater side where you actually get that attack, right? That snappy part. And you don't get that. But if this is like this, like one solid drum head with no port, then you kind of have to mic it here. And that's not the It's not ideal, and it also doesn't help with isolation, because when you've got multiple mics open, you want to be able to isolate stuff as much as possible, specifically live. Because I mean, if you've got a microphone that's sitting out here, you know, then you got your bass amp that's right there. Well, that microphone's going to pick that up because it's outside here now. It's not in the drum. So anything you can do, that's why we close mic everything live, because we want to isolate stuff as much as possible. So with that, we're going to mic the kick drum. Because we're going to use this this Beta 52. Try to figure out where best way to get in here. You got to play with it sometimes. Sometimes you got to move stuff around to get it in there. Let me figure out I'm going to do this. Might have to just sneak this over like that so I can get underneath. There we go. There. All right. So, like I said, we want to get far enough in so we can get some isolation and kind of get that beater as well. Because in modern music, that's super important. The kick drum it's the center of your rhythm section. So something like that. And then we would take, and that's another thing that Subsnake's good for. Now we can use shorter cables to do this. We don't have to have a one length of cable. When we use shorter cables, then we can do it, we can keep this, the cable management is a little bit better. So, let me do that. So that's our first. So another thing is, you know, you don't want to just do this and leave it hanging like that. I like to dress it all, so it all looks nice. So in a case like this, I would come up this way, do this, and then maybe wrap it around here a few times, kind of thing, so it all sits. That kind of serves two. This kind of serves two purposes. It looks nicer, it looks cleaner than having the cable just hang, and once you start having like a lot of microphones plugged in with all the cables hanging off, it becomes a danger too, because then it takes one person to trip over a cable and then send your microphone to the floor. We don't want that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're gonna jump to the snare, even though that's not, it's overheads next, but I like to do those last. So the snare drum is mic'd with this. While we're talking here, there's a famous rider story. I don't know if anybody has heard of the Van Halen Brown M&M story, but Van Halen in the 70s was probably the biggest rock band in the world, 70s and early 80s, and they put in this one part of the rider that they wanted a bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones removed. So that seems really stupid, but the reason why they did it is they put that near the end of their rider. So if they came in and they saw that, first of all, or maybe the M&Ms weren't there at all, or the M&Ms were there, but there were still brown ones in there, or a lot of brown ones, and then that means that somebody wasn't listening to the rider. And then they knew that they should check everything. That was kind of this little thing they put in there to see if people were paying attention. Like I said, you get some ridiculous riders out there that ask for crazy things. When people are on sort of the higher end of the music industry, they tend to ask for, you know, they get crazy and ask for stupid things. There was one band that used to ask for socks. They used to ask for a clean pair of socks for everybody that was on the crew and everybody in the band, which would be kind of cool, actually. Nice to have nice fresh socks every day. But that's, yeah. But another thing that you should realize is that, like I said, this is not your wish list. Don't treat it like your wish list. You know, this is what you need to do, the job that you need to do. Don't if someone asks for your rider, don't say, oh, yeah, we're going to ask for this and bottles of that, and and we're going to get this champagne and that bottle of rye or whatever. Like, don't treat it like that, because people will stop not taking you seriously. Put on what you need to do a good job. Unless, of course, you need a bottle of champagne to do a good job. Then I guess you got to put it on there. So this might not make it. So, Karen, can you grab me some 25 footers? These short ones are going to be too short for this. For this particular part. Yeah, I have to redo that. I'll use it in something else. Thank you. These aren't the good ones.
You want the good one?
Yes, always. So we have rental stock, and we also have production stock for my cables, because on the rental stuff that tends to walk away a lot, so we don't put the good stuff out. Thank you. All right. So the snare. So what you want to do with all your microphones is try to isolate it as much from other things. So if we're going to mic the snare, we're going to come all the way over here. Plug that in. And another thing, you want to make sure that you're placing these microphones so the musician is not going to hit it, or it doesn't impede their performance in any way. Just because you kind of like it there, you have to work with them. So, if you have like a drummer that's got like double kick and stuff like that, it can be difficult to get in to the snare drum, and you might have to go to a clip-on mic like I have here. I like the sound of this better on the snare than these, so that's why we're using this one. So, I think so. Yeah, because I have the input list there anyway. So as you can see here, right? You want to make sure that you always check to make sure that nothing's going to hit the microphone. Like when you do overheads, or if you do tom mics, you want to make sure that the flow of this cymbal is not going to smash into your microphone. So what I like to do is, for this, I kind of prefer to do like a top and bottom for the snare, but we're not doing that today. So I kind of have it on the edge there, because that allows you to get a little bit of the bottom part in there as well. Kind of get it on the side. Maybe a little closer. And you notice it's not here, because if it was here, then there's a chance that this could hit it. So we're trying to keep it out of the way as much as possible. So that looks like it's going to be a good position. And once again, so here's another trick. Instead of doing this, a lot of people do this. Wrap it around like that. And then when you take it off, you've got to unplug it and do exactly the same thing. When I first started out, there was a sound guy that said, don't do that. That's a time waster. We're always trying to be efficient, us sound guys. So you have your mic cable like that. You just go around like this. And then you don't have to do this to unwind it later. All right? So that is the snare. So I just pushed a pedal there. What's next? I'm going to do the hi-hat. So that is this microphone here. So with this microphone, you want to try to keep it away from the snare. You don't want to, because you want, like I said, you always want to isolate things as much as possible. So we're going to kind of come in, something like that, face towards the hi-hat, but not really capturing the snare. Try to keep it away from the snare as much as possible. Yeah, that might work. So, are there any other questions? Anything?
Yes, we've got a couple of questions going right now.
Do it.
So sorry, I got to scroll up. We sent quite a few here. One of them was one question I had. I know I'm a returning artist, and I remember Karen had spoke to us about it last year, but I figured it's more relevant now because of COVID. So I was wondering if you could explain to our first years and to the members of the public how to clean a mic.
How to clean a microphone. Yeah, so we have, like, the ones you'd have to really be concerned about are our vocal mics. So let me just grab a 58 here. Look at that, and it's more important than ever to actually own your own microphone in today's world. So what you can do, you can just take this whole thing off, right? You can just take that off, and inside there's a foam pop filter windscreen, and we just take these and we put them in like Listerine or something like that. That's got alcohol that kills germs, and we dunk it in there, and then we just leave it to. And we also sometimes we take a brush too, because you sometimes get lipstick and stuff like that on microphones if people are using them. So we wipe that off too. But that will kill the germs, and it's safe. But you want to let that dry first. You don't want to put that back on, because then it's going to get into the element here and destroy your microphone. So that's what I would do. And that's what we do here. Everything that comes back, especially from a rental, you know, Karen is the one dealing with this and dunking them and cleaning them off. So.
Because of COVID, I'm actually using a registered number that's hospital grade.
Yeah, we use a hospital grade disinfectant as well. So that helps a lot, because it's not just microphones that you have to wipe down, it's everything that anybody's touched. So we have to wipe down speakers, we have to wipe down microphones and stands and all that stuff. I hope that answers your question. Do you have any more for me there, Maddie?
Yeah, thank you. And when is the appropriate time in your music career to start having riders with your promoters?
I would get into the habit of doing it now. I've done, like, you know, it's not big festivals, but like even small things. I'll give you an example. There's this one called that we do every year called Gussapalooza, and it happens in this guy's backyard. But there's a lot of bands. There's tons and tons of bands coming in and out, and you know, all of them have different, you know, there's a generic, like I said, there's a drum set that people share, which is great. There's a couple of amplifiers on stage. But if we know ahead of time, we can deal with other things, because sometimes there is, on that particular show, we had a violin player. We had somebody playing something else. I forgot. It was a weird instrument. But we knew what it was, and we knew how to deal with it because it was on a rider. But we wouldn't think that would be a big deal. It's a backyard party, really, in essence, but it had a lot of bands. It was a lot of entertainment. So to know what was coming up early is important. So I would say start now. Even with your band, whatever band you have, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's maybe just you even. If it's just you talking, you just need a microphone and a DI for your guitar, or whatever that is. Make sure it's on your rider. I think it's really important, you know, because you might have, like, maybe you bring a specific a preamp in for your guitar. It's nice to know that we have how to deal with that, or what it is. So or know that it needs fan and power or something like that. We can get all these things done ahead of time instead of going, oh, where does this go, or where does that go, and asking a million questions. Like, there's the rider, right? And if you're going to do that, send your rider in. Probably the best thing to do is to kind of send your rider to whoever is going to be doing sound. All right? Sorry? We've got 10 minutes to fill here. So, sorry, go ahead. You said you had another question. I'll keep plugging stuff in as we go.
Yeah, so I don't want to take up too much time with the questions right now because we have so many, but I'll ask one or two more. Do you think it's a good idea for us to include stage plots on our EPK, or would you recommend us provide our stage plots to each individual venue upon booking?
An EPK is not, that's more of a marketing thing, I think, than a rider is. So I would have it as part of your rider. Not an EPK, but definitely have it handy that you can send it out to people, and always keep it updated. You can keep asking me because
Awesome.
this is boring. Plugging my cable.
Okay.
Plugging cables in is not
I
exciting.
mean, I disagree. I'm enjoying watching you go to work. I think it's very interesting, but I will keep going.
I love
Should
work
we?
too, Maddie. I can watch it all day. I love it. Go ahead.
Should we print a stage plot for every gig, even the super small and simple ones?
Yes. Yeah, I think I answered that already. Yeah, it doesn't matter how simple it is. Oh yeah, PDF. You don't need to. I mean, we're in an electronic world now, so yeah, a PDF is more than adequate for sure.
And I think you kind of covered this one already as well, because it kind of ties into the last two questions. But if you don't have a band, is there a point to having a stage plot? Like if you accompany yourself, are people still going to expect the stage plot?
Like I said, it's always a good idea, right? Because no one's going to know you. Like especially if you're starting out. Like I said, it reveals to at least to the technical staff that you have your stuff together, that you're a pro, and that you're not going to waste our time. It doesn't matter that it's your vocal mic and a DI for your guitar. I don't care. I'd like to know what that is, or where you like to set up. Like, I mean, it seems like it's kind of a waste of time, but it's not. It's really important. Because when you have in a festival situation, you have, multiple bands coming in and out. It's like, you might have to, it'd be nice to clear stuff out for you. For instance, if they have, a band with like everybody's talking, everybody is, you have like a bunch of vocal mics and you come in so they can clear whatever's not needed out of your way. So you have your vocal mic and your DI there and, instead of having all this extraneous stuff on the outsides, they can clean it up for you. But like I said, when you're dealing with a festival situation, there's so much turnaround, so much turnover. People come in and out so fast. So if you can have that handy, like I said, that festival we do in Bradford there, Gussapalooza, the person that puts that event on, even though it's, like I said, it's in their backyard, they have every single every single stage plot and input list for every single band, no matter if it's, 6 people in the band or 1 person in the band. Doesn't matter. Like I said, whatever size, got to have a rider, got to have a stage plot, got to have an input list. I don't care. No excuse. Go ahead. You said you had another question.
Yes, I believe you answered this one already as well. What website do you recommend using to create our stage plots?
Like I said, we're gonna put that. There's something online and it's free. It's a backline company in the U.S. called something Tweed, Black Tweed, or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, we'll leave it in the comments. But like I said, it's super easy to use. I would recommend that, and it allows you to do an input list as well on the same page. So you can have your stage plot and your input list below it, and then the name of the band, the name of the event too, which is kind of good to have as well, because then you can say that they can see that it's updated. Right? If you have the name of their event on there with the date, they know that that's an updated and that's the most recent version of your rider, your input list and stage plot. So they know they're not wasting their time. So like I said, it's a good thing to have that kind of rapport instantly with the technical staff, I think, anyway. Keep going.
Why is there no input for the ride symbol?
Say again? I didn't hear that.
Sorry, why is there no input for the ride symbol?
For the ride symbol, well, we have an overhead that's going to capture both of these. You can do that. Some people do have but like I said, in this situation, we don't really need it. If you had a bigger kit with way more symbols, then you might want to throw one on the ride. Just because I know it's one of the main symbols and it carries the rhythm a lot, whereas the crash cymbals and stuff like that aren't as important. When I do the overheads in a situation like this, when all I have is an overhead mic, I'll kind of lean towards getting closer to the ride cymbal anyway to pick it up more than say that crash cymbal there.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've been asked? And I will, just like a mental note, if this was about the rider requests.
I haven't been in my career anything too crazy. Not on the technical end. There might be some silliness like socks and stuff like that, or ridiculous amounts of alcohol that have to be provided. But as far as the technical stuff, most people stick to it. You might get oh, actually no, there was one. So we're supposed to do a gig with the DJ. I don't know if you guys remember BET, Black Entertainment Television. Back in the day, it was big. It was a bigger deal in the 90s. But there was the DJ that worked on there. I forgot his name now. But anyway, his guy had. You have to remember, he's 3 channels, right? He's his console, his DJ console left and right, and a wireless microphone. And the rider that goes along with that guy, he had, like I said, he had more PA facing him than most bands have for the audience facing out. And he had a 48-channel console because they liked that particular console. It maybe had the right routing or whatever, but now whoever has to bring this guy in has to pay for a 48-channel console, even though you're using 3 channels. And also, on top of that, they was asking for a lot of plugins, very, very specific, expensive plugins that weren't sort of industry standard that this particular engineer wanted to have. So yeah, you can get, like I said, don't be. It's not a wish list. You gotta do. Give us what you need to get the job done well. Like I said, you don't. I mean, as I said, you can on a vocal mic you can spend $100. You can spend $3,000. Don't be that guy or that girl that's asking for, being ridiculous, because when you walk in, that's what they're going to think of you right away. These guys are, the perception is that you're high maintenance right away. So you don't want that. So continue. I think we only have a little bit of time left. I'm going to continue miking things here. I'm going to do one tom, just so we know how to do that. So this thing's awesome because it requires no mic stand. So we got to try to get it in there. You can hear that click. Then you want to kind of move it over, make sure the cymbal doesn't hit it. Like that. Grab a mic cable. Aesthetics are important. Yeah, we might have to deal with that. This is why we don't leave it to musicians. Sorry. Actually, I'm amongst technicians here, so that's all good. So, plug it in. So this part here, this holds the, so instead of just this hanging down like that, making it looking ugly, it allows you to do this. Put the mic cable in there, and then you can maybe kind of wrap it around there. Or maybe do it the other way. No, that's going to work. Just like that. And we might tape that kind of to there later on just to make it look better as an example. So that's tom 1. Any more questions, Maddie? While I'm going?
It's basically as soon as I ask one, another one comes up.
Yeah, just
how crucial do you think a bottom snare mic is?
How important do I think it is? Is that what's the question?
Yeah, how crucial?
Okay, so when you mic the top, you get the lower end of it, right? And you miss out because it's pointed at the top. You're not getting the bottom. The bottom is where the snares are. That's where that snappy sound is. So I put a microphone underneath to capture both, and then you have to mix the two together. And another thing that happens when you do that is you have to reverse the polarity, because that mic is going to be in phase, and then that mic underneath it is going to be out of phase. So you have to flip the polarity on it, so they're both in polarity. But like I said, that makes a huge, huge difference. If you don't do that, then what ends up happening is you got to crank the top end of this microphone to get that snappy sound out of it. Whereas if you don't, if you have that mic underneath there, it's a lot easier to get a better sound. So if you're recording, that's definitely the way to go.
Awesome. And on the topic of drum mixing, how do you avoid bleed between mics when you're mixing your drum set?
That's a thing that's we like to call the noise gate. So basically, that allows you to set a threshold, and anything below that threshold will not come through, and anything above that threshold will be able to come through. So what you can do with tom specifically, we also do it with kick drum as well, is set that so only the volume of the kick drum will open that up, or only the volume of the tom will open that mic up. Because when you have this many microphones out, it becomes a little bit intense to keep it. And if you heard it without a noise gate on it, like all these mics, bouncing around, and then compare that to the gated version, it just tightens everything up and makes it sound more studio. But I think that's all the time we have today. Yes. Because I'm going to continue doing this. We have a band showing up. I'll take
awesome.
one more.
Well, if we have time,
One
more. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do one more.
Do you feel like COVID is going to change the way that musicians gig in the future? Example, everyone brings their own mics and less equipment available at shows?
I don't know if that's going to change. I mean, obviously, what's happening, the live industry is pretty much gone away, which sucks. But I think the whole bringing your own mic thing, that should have been done a long time ago. It's not a COVID thing. It should have been always done that way. Because I mean, if you open up, if you go to any bar where there's a vocal mic provided for you, and you do any test on that, you'll find all kinds of different things in there. So best to bring your own. Who's been talking into it, and you avoid getting sick and whatever other diseases that are on somebody else's microphone. Like I said, that should have been done. You should be doing that all the time if you can afford it. Like I said, but an SM58 costs just a little over $100. If you got to invest, if you're going to invest in yourself, if you want to do this for a living and invest in your career, that's a good start. Yeah. Okay.
And we're just going to keep everything. You're not the star anymore. These guys are. We'll just keep the link open.
Okay.
Is that good with you?
All right. So I can keep answering questions if you want. I'll leave my mic on because I still have the mic stuff. So if you want to fix this up here eventually, where can I sneak this in? I got some tape and everything I can throw on that. Yeah, go ahead and do whatever you got. Yeah. That, I won't use that tape. I'll get you some. Karen, can you add some E-tape?
I'm gonna use a piece of my snack and dampen it.
Sure.
Thanks, buddy.
I've got one of those O-rings things if you want to use that, but it's up to you. Sometimes that deadens it a little too much.
Yeah, eh? I know.
Yeah.
It makes it a little
There you are. Yeah.
appreciate it. And grab it to you.
Okay. So I'm gonna get this a little tidier. Yeah, we're aware. We didn't get that far. So can you
Yes, sir.
yeah, just get that to where you'd like it, and then I'll tape it up. I'll give you a little bit of play on it though.
That's perfect.
Okay, good.
Yep.
You got a buzz?
Yeah.
It's probably ground.
Nope.
Got to flip the ground switch on it.
Oh, you have a ground switch on there?
Should. That's a good one. I actually like that one.
Oh, yeah. Here. Sorry.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, wait, is that the difference? The line in the ground there, right?
The ground, like I actually explained this to these guys. When you flip that ground switch, you're creating this only one way the thing can be grounded, because that can be grounded through the electrical there. But if you connect it, it can be grounded through the electrical over here, right? So now you're giving it one path to ground, and that's what that ground switch does. That's all it does, lifts it off. So I'll keep doing this thing.
Maybe, yeah. Here. Can we get a set list too up here? Set list? Yeah. Yeah, we'll prop that up.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. So like we were talking about, you said, do you do a separate one for the ride? Yeah, in a perfect world. But, oh, you actually use this thing.
Brought it out. Brought it out. The woodshed.
So yeah, so I kind of, like I said, crash cymbals are something that you don't really have to mic because they're really loud. But like I said, the ride is something that needs to cut through because a lot of times it's keeping time for us, so we need to hear it.
Now these overheads will catch a lot of.
Yeah.
Have you ever mic'd it underneath?
Then I don't get this,
You don't get it.
right? Yeah. Or you don't get it as much. So I see you smashing it, but I don't hear it.
More balance.
Too big. That's what we put in last night. Not? We may have to go back to.
All right, so that's overhead left. I need to get a mic cable. Karen, can you give me more mic cables? Sorry, it's close. I know. It's Karen and Kieran. More 25s, yeah.
Hi, OMCI. You guys should know this guy here. Lyric. I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. Hi, Madeline. Oh, I'm just talking loud.
Yeah, just there. So so you can talk to them. I'm just going to turn your microphone up for them.
Hello. Check
There.
1, 2.
Can you hear Kelsey now? Madeline?
Check.
Yeah, crystal clear.
Okay, good. So I'll just leave her mic up there. She can talk as well. Hope it's not too confusing.
Hi, everybody. We are so excited to be here today. Thanks for inviting us. I'm going to introduce my band really quick. So here's Lyric Doobie, as you guys should all know.
Can we
have
move this?
Annette
It's
Haas
becoming increasingly
playing
difficult for me to
bass,
navigate back
Corey
here and sitting there.
Polster on the drums, and Karen Wilkie also on guitar.
Thanks, brother.
So I don't think it's a close enough connection. They're not getting a read on 95. Yeah. Because he's getting a buzz. He's getting a read on here. But not.
Okay, I'll do overhead right.
Your acoustic? Do we have your acoustic one too? Okay, what we can do is we can just take this out, like take the nut out.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have it back on here. And then- So
Yep.
want to do that right now or later?
It might have been the
No.
taper jack that I had was allowed for more reach because it definitely clicked in mine.
It clicks, like it feels like it clicks.
I'm hearing it click.
No, it like clicked in mine.
Further. Do you still have it? Oh, that was before. Sorry, so we're having just so you guys know, the connection here on this guitar, we did a little makeshift fix last night. We took it apart because the quarter-inch jack kind of fell into the guitar itself. So we bolted it back out to the front, but the bolt is now blocking the cord. So we're trying to solve that solution right now, just with a little creativity.
Well, while you get that sorted, I'd just like to say for those watching at home, this is an inside look at what later today's performance training with Amy Wolter will be like, as well as tonight's performance with the Kelsey Main Band, which we are super excited for. It's going to be an absolutely amazing show, and I'm so excited to see you guys live in action from home.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
What do we have left to do here? Anybody know? Did we get the bass wired in already? Yep.
Just mic and the guitar still has to happen.
So right now, the solution that we're talking about is just we're getting a different guitar in. It's not being that creative right now. Always bring it back up. Do we have one, Karen?
I think it's in the back there. Ooh. I think it's probably there. Yeah, it is there. Yeah. So, do we have lyrics?
Sure.
She got that guitar signed by, what's his name from the Great Big Sea? He's got a big autograph. I'll be all night.
Singer? Great Big Sea singer?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's signed by Alan Doyle.
Alan Doyle.
Alan Doyle.
Right on the front, because I love him.
Find here. Give a preference there. And which one I use?
No preference.
Perfect.
Not on this one at least.
Yeah, that's what's his name? Ian Thornley.
I told him,
On his cabinet,
please sign
he
the
has
first
found
one.
like the
He
sweet
looked at me,
spot
he
for
says,
his
"Are you sure?"
sound,
I only love
and he
you
actually
here.
has it.
And then he
He
looked
has
at
a
me with
thing
fan face.
That's awesome.
with tape, and he just puts like
That
right
was so
there.
weird.
I have it marked on my Fender Tweed, so I don't really have to discern to have that kind of preference yet. Still new yet for me.
I like this. It's a great size for me. Smaller than mine. Mine's too big.
Center there.
What? Let's do. I told him woman waiting, but
We're gonna have to do Woman Waiting and something else to get the acoustic.
Bass we got already.
Stuff.
Cool.
Anybody with a phone have it on silent?
I
Yeah, I have mine on silent.
No, I said we're gonna have to do more than one waiting because that's just acoustic for me. I have.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You call it whatever you want to do. Lyric.
I think between us and one waiting maybe.
Sure.
Just gonna make sure I'm just gonna do a quick line check. I can see I'm seeing you already, which is great.
So Kelsey, sorry to interrupt, but we actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
We'd like to know what in-ears you use. I don't know if this is for MTAV, sorry, or for you, but someone was asking which one you use.
I use mine's Audio 64. We all use different ones. Lyric, what are your in-ears?
I have two, Audio 64 and SE215s. I don't know if we hit that.
Audio 64.
I don't want it on.
and
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sure, SE215s.
Shure SE215s is what Lyric uses. Kieran, what are your in-ears? Company out of Florida called in-ears with a Z instead of an S. And I'm just tuning down half step because I always play in half step down.
Kelsey, do you want?
Sure. Thank you. Thanks.
So Kelsey, we have a couple more questions for you. Have you ever worked with, I know later today we're going to be having Amy Wolzer in to do a performance training. Have you ever worked with Amy or Tom before?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
Sorry, have you ever worked with Amy or Tom before? I know that we're having them in later today.
I have not. Not yet. No, I'm excited. I've seen their work with you guys, and I've seen Tom also at workshops at the CCMAs.
We'd also like to know what you did to prepare for today.
What we did to prepare for today?
I didn't hear that. I'm deaf.
Oh. One more time, Madeline.
Sorry, we'd like to know what you did to prepare for today.
Oh, so we had several rehearsals. Went over. I did a lot of work on my own by kind of looking at our songs, really feeling the flow of the set, and between keys and BPM of each song, just kind of feeling how the set would progress. I didn't want to put too many mid-tempo songs together. I needed to spread some things out. We stuck a little cover in there, so I did a lot of time just on my own, just looking at that and rearranging songs and like listening to each song, back to back and kind of figuring that out and what I thought would be a good flow for the set. And then for prepping for Amy tonight, so that is, sorry, can you guys hear me in this mic? Yeah. Okay, perfect, because I hear myself in my in-ear, but, okay, perfect, thank you. Awesome. So, and then what we did for prepping for Amy is we kind of like collectively thought of like 2 songs that we wanted to work on that we could also use to now perform for the CMA Ontario Award Show, which was just announced today that we'll be performing at. So, you want me to? Okay.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're so excited.
I can imagine, that's incredible. We'd also like to know how often you rehearse with or without the band.
With the band, we had 3 rehearsals altogether, and then on our own, I don't know, just kind of when we can in between. So an hour or so a day, I think. I don't know. It's different for each of us, but yeah.
How has COVID impacted your business?
I mean, obviously the live shows is a major thing, but besides the shows, the live shows, it's allowed me some time to actually prepare for things on my own. So kind of restructure as far as like our kind of the more business side of things, marketing, and creating more and more content to just put out, like videos, behind the scenes stuff, music videos, acoustic videos. We're just trying to stay as relevant and current as possible. So just getting out there is digitally is what I've been focusing on, like reframing to a more digital space.
Could you tell us about building a career as an independent artist and what that's like?
It's a lot of teaching yourself new things and new tools, and also collaborating with as many people as you can. So it's learning from other people, and would you be able to help?
I was just about to say, why don't I do that while you answer questions?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Swap back up again.
I can't. I'm not the best multitasker right now. So I'm all yours now.
How did you build your band?
Oh, so this is this took me like years to find the right combination, and the people that are committed. So and that believe in our vision. So I'm super grateful to have everybody. So I have Corey Opolser and Annette. I pretty much met at the same time. Corey actually was referred to me from another artist. So and then I bumped into him as well at a live show, supporting another artist friend. So that's what's really great about just forming that community and going out there and showing up and supporting other artists. And then if you're ever stuck in a position, then you can always rely on word of mouth and stuff. So luckily I was recommended Corey, and then I was recommended Annette from another bassist. So that just happened to work out. I met Kieran, actually. Kieran is a graduate of a of Upper Canada College, where my boyfriend is a teacher. So I met him through that, and then he went on to the Berklee College of Music and studied there. But I'm so grateful to have him back. And then Lyric, I met because I was his judge for his audition for the program. So, so yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much. That was half step down, right? Beautiful. Thank you, Lyric.
Yeah, self-plug here, but OMCI is great for that kind of building a community and connection. I know I met a lot of artists this way as well, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's not just me.
No. It's all.
Let me take a look here and see if we have any other questions for you. Sorry, you were saying?
Oh, it's just it's all about networking, and you know, you can never go wrong by just constantly meeting new people and putting yourself out there. So, yeah.
Can I get one of those? Yeah, I got to find it out. Oh, thank you.
Karen told me that Alan Doyle signed this guitar, so shout out to Alan. Okay, do you want me to plug in here? See if that works. Oh, you got the close up there.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
So Kelsey, what songs will you be performing for us today?
So we want to keep a couple as a surprise, but a lot of the songs on my debut album, which was released this year, earlier this year at the end of March, right at the beginning of COVID. So this is kind of our first opportunity to actually get to play them out since they've been released.
Kieran, I'm just waiting for that.
Yeah, I heard your album and it is amazing. There are so many catchy songs on there. Like As I Go, I think that's the one where you referenced the Mariah Carey song, right?
Carrie
Not
Underwood.
Mariah Carey.
Carrie Underwood. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm me and my country artist.
The other
the Carrie
superstar
Underwood song,
diva. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was just so clever. I was like, wow, I love that.
Thank you. I wrote that line, so thank you.
What are you hoping to get out of this training today with?
Well, we want to make, obviously, so this is our first appearance on the CMA Ontario stage in October. So they just announced that today. We are nominee for Rising Star of the Year. So since this is our first appearance, we really wanted to make a really good, strong first impression and completely kind of knock it out of the park. So I'm hoping we can establish that. We're working on 2 songs. So we chose As I Go and SOS as our 2 songs to work on for that workshop. So I'm super excited.
Yes, SOS is also really catchy, and I know we talked about this last time you were here because it has such a clever title and chorus as well, because you expect SOS is, save our souls, and it's not, and I think that's hilarious. I love that. I think it's so clever and witty, and I'm glad that you released it.
Thank you so much. Actually, so that's the first song. That's the one and only song on the album I can't take credit for writing, because I wasn't. Song was completely pitched to me. But it was a song that I felt like it felt like I don't know. It's weird. Like I don't want to. Obviously, I didn't write it, but I felt like it was me. So and that's pretty special when you can find something that feels just so right for you. So that you weren't a part of.
That's amazing. I think that's so wonderful. I love when people talk about how songs, even if they aren't their own, speak to them. And I think that's awesome that you recognize it as an artist because it definitely suits you so well.
Thank you.
Colin would like to know how you arrange background vocals for your band.
Oh, well, this is kind of something we're still kind of figuring out, and that is always our go-to because she's the other female in the band. So she usually takes just the high harmony, and then the second harmony part we kind of leave it up to these guys. And what? Oh, there we go. Nice close up on that. But the other harmony, we usually do a 3-part harmony, and then so the lower harmony we divide between Lyric and Kieran depending on what they're capable of. Sometimes Lyric is switching instruments, sometimes Kieran has an insane solo, so it's kind of up in the air for whoever can grab the other one. And then Corey will also grab a backup vocal as well in between. So he does a lot of the gang vocals too, which are really, really super important for performing out to, especially for live audiences, just getting the crowd involved. So by having someone else singing the words, and it subconsciously tells the audience to sing along too. So it's super, super important for those little gang vocals.
I am so excited for the 3-part harmony. I love 3-part harmonies. I think they're amazing, and I can't wait to hear some of that tonight. I can't speak for everyone, but oh my goodness, I am so excited. Do you run stems at all?
We do. So this we actually only brought into our show in the last 2 years. So it's still, we're always learning with this, and tracks are just, they're so integral now, I feel like, to live shows, especially in the country world at least. So I think we're always learning and just trying to step our game up as technology advances, and just trying to do what the big kids do.
I also wanted to congratulate you because I believe a film that you were in was nominated for an award recently. Am I correct on that?
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We've had actually quite a few awards in the last couple weeks come in, and so it was a Stephen King short film I was in. So it's called Willa, and it's on like the International Film Festival circuit. So every day we're still getting acceptance letters into the festivals. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So is it traditional horror Stephen King?
Is it Sorry? Is it a traditional?
Sorry, is it just a horror film?
It's not so horror. It's like, it's suspense and a little bit of, I mean, it's not like gory or anything. It's more like there's some tragedy in it, where it tugs at your heartstrings. Some suspense. It's more suspenseful, but yeah, it's not so like horror. I don't know. I can't describe it.
No, that's great. As someone who could not for the life of me sit down and watch a horror film because I am such a scaredy cat, I think that I would love to go watch it because I love suspenseful film. So I'm excited to go see it and support you.
Oh, thanks. It's only like 13 minutes. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's only like
How do you,
Mhm.
sorry,
No,
how do
sorry.
you approach changing arrangements for live shows?
It's you know, that is what it's different for different shows, and we're trying to narrow that down to just kind of keeping a one consistent thing. But it's a process. Like, you learn different things from every show experience that you have. So, and different crowds that you have. So, I'm completely open to changing stuff around and figuring out what works and adding different clapping parts, crowd participation stuff here and there. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Awesome. You guys look about ready to go. Do you want to put a pause on the questions for now?
Sure.
Shortcut down to